So I thought that I'd share a little bit about what a session looks like on the inside. So I'm going to start by just explaining to you what I do for the prep work before a session. I align my own energy and light so that I come into the session completely clean. I use a couple of tools normally. This is selenite. I use the selenite wand to work with my energy field. It helps keep my energy field nice and clean so that I don't bring anything, any of my own worldly cares into the session because they don't belong in your session, right? The other thing that I use is I use this clear quartz double terminated, so there's a point on each end. And that directs the energy up and down through my central energy channel that connects my crown all the way to my root. And it helps to cleanse my central energy channel, which is all of my energy that's flowing through my body, so that my body's nice and clean, and so that my body isn't taking away the power and the clarity of the energy that I'm working on my client with. So I always align my own light, clear out my energy field, and clean up my own energy meridians so that I'm in good condition for giving. So that's what I do before the session. Once we get into a session, then what I do is I invite all of your guides, angels, beings of light, ascended masters, fairy beings, even animal guides, everybody that's connected to you, and everybody that's available for the session that we're in. And I'm going to share a little bit about that in a second. So there's that. And the other thing that I do is I always open the Akashic records. And what that does is it opens a channel between my client and me so that we can meet on a soul to soul level. It's a very intimate experience, and it's one that allows for the connection into past lives so that those can be resolved. If there are any soul contracts, past life agreements, or attachments of any kind, I can see those and we can resolve those. We can understand them, why they're there before, I never just go in with, swords blazing and just cut stuff. It's much better if we understand why it's there in the first place, because a big part of the healing is healing your mind. And then the other thing that I do is I always invite in all of the healing energies in for and available to you. And while I'm doing that, I will use my palm chakra to draw the Reiki symbols of healing. This is Choku Rei, and then the other one is Seiheki. And Choku Rei is for physical healing, Seiheki is for emotional healing. And I can actually feel a tingling happening in my palm chakra as I'm sharing that. And often my clients will be able to feel that shift happening in them too, just by drawing the Reiki symbols of healing. They're very powerful. Okay, so here is a little share from a session that I had this morning with a long-term client. And I mostly see women, but I also see some men. And he is dealing with some very deep physical issues, and they have to do with some neurotoxins. And what came up in the session today was neurotoxins that are causing problems with the myelin sheath on his or in his nervous system. So we're working on motor function, neuroplasticity, and some really deep, intense stuff. One of the cool things that came up in the session this morning is that when I called in the guides and angels, there was one guide that came through, and this was an Arcturian being, and this Arcturian being was really intent on showing me that they are able to pull the full spectrum of light out of, my best understanding of what they were trying to explain to me was that they pull it out of dark matter. And later they told me that humans have a kindergarten understanding of dark matter. So I was like, okay. That's the information that they were presenting right at the very beginning of the session. And then later on in the session, we were doing all this work with neurotoxin, like freezing the neurotoxins so that they would stop having an influence on his body's ability to have good motor function, and that all of that was being was affecting the nervous system. So what was shown was to freeze the degeneration by freezing the neurotoxins. And basically that was just like freezing them so that it wasn't actually like putting them in a freezer. It was like neutralizing them. It was like encapsulating them so that they could no longer um, influence the degree of degeneration that his body was experiencing. So, what happened is that the Arcturians showed how to generate a protection that would be self-perpetuating but would not take any energy from his system. And that's what I was afraid of. I was like, this guy doesn't have any energy to spare. We don't want to be sucking his energy in order to keep the neurotoxins neutralized. And so that's why they were showing me that they are able to pull the full spectrum of light from this dark matter. And what they did is we worked together to create what essentially looked like a healing flame that generated this structure of neutralizing the neurotoxins, and everywhere that they were, if influencing his motor function in his body. It was amazing. It was so incredible. But what I'm trying to explain here is that there's always something in the very beginning of the session that then comes back at the end. It comes right around full circle, and I have this understanding of why it was so important to show what happened in the beginning, because there's resolution by the end of each session. So that's the kind of thing that happens in a healing session with me. Psychic readings are slightly different. I do always open the Akashic Records. I always invite all of the healing energies, and I always invite your guides, angels, and beings of light and helpers, because your beings of light know what you need the best. And I can work with all different kinds of groups. Psychic readings are more around questions that you may have or inquiries about the best way to proceed in your life. They can be really general questions like, why do I feel so blocked? They can be really specific questions like, why am I in this relationship? Or what does this person mean to me? Or did we share past lives together? Something like that. You can also ask other specific questions like, I'm thinking about moving here, here, or here. What are you seeing is the best? And then through the Akashic Records, we'll give a great explanation for what the pros and cons are of each of those different choices. Lots and lots of things that you can ask in sessions, and great information always comes through. That was a huge sort of insider view into what my sessions look like on the inside. If you have specific questions about whether or not I can help you with the questions that you have, with the problems that you're facing, the challenges that are coming up, or my absolute specialty, what I love to do is work with midlife awakening women who are intuitive and excited about exploring something new in their life because what's been going on just isn't fulfilling anymore, and they're ready for this transition. There's an awakening happening. Usually what comes along with that awakening is a whole lot of breaking down of the structures that you've built in your life, and that can be really painful. And so I can help you understand why those structures that you've built in your life are breaking down and what's next for you. If you have questions, tap on that link in the description and go to my schedule. Pick out a time for us to get on the phone and really work out what is going to be the best way forward for you. Definitely don't hesitate to schedule a call with me. I love questions and I'd be happy to talk with you. All right, have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.